The former Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan and a senior Congress leader, Sachin Pilot, joins me right now from the Kingsway camp here near Mukherjee Nagar in the national capital, as many Congress leaders, many of them senior Congress leaders, detained here as they continue their fight and their protest on. Mr. Sachin, thanks very much. We're speaking like this because you're detained, not for the first time in your fight against the government and in what many Congress leaders believe is the misuse of probe agencies. The Congress keeps its fight on.
Well, it's become very clear that the agencies of the government of India are being used to intimidate the opposition and especially the Congress party. This particular case that has now been so much in discussion really is not a case at all, because there has been no FIR filed. It has been baked up after many years just so that you can pressurize the opposition, muzzle the voice of the people who speak against the government. When Mrs. Gandhi or Rahulji speak against price rise or accountability or high unemployment, or the incursions on the Chinese border, the response is to intimidate, to use agencies to make sure that no one speaks out against them. And even today we were protesting very non-violently in a Gandhian manner in front of our own party office, and the police and the blatant misuse of brute force that was used against some of our colleagues is also something that's against the democratic norms that we all abide by. So this is it's not about just individuals, it's about the entire opposition and how we are not allowed to ask questions, and agencies are being used to cow down the voice of anyone who opposes the BJP.
Right. Many of you, including Mr. Chidambaram, has not once but emphasized on the fact that the probe agency has not scheduled there's no been scheduled FIR in the case, and there is no scheduled offence as per many of you. Do you believe that the probe agency in itself is not following the democratic process of the law?
You see, look at the track record. Last 7-8 years, anyone who's been questioned, raided, charge sheeted, has been someone from the opposition. If you're pro the government, if you're pro the BJP, then you can go scot-free. And like I said, if this case had any merit, many years ago things would have been discussed. But this basically, when there's no FIR, and the money laundering can happen when there's exchange of money. So there's absolutely nothing to be made out of it, except for in the media or in the public domain to point fingers at the opposition. And Mrs. Gandhi has been Congress president for more than 20 years. I think everybody knows that she's always worked in the interest of the party and the country first. So I think to target her and Mr. Rahul Gandhi is something that's become something of a norm by the BJP. But the country is watching, and our fight really is not just for one person or one party. It's about how the opposition space is being shrunk by the BJP, and how they're using this pressure tactic to make sure that we don't ask the right questions and the pertinent questions.
What is your message to the centre, to the government, to the probe agencies who you believe?
Well, I think we must persevere. A democracy is only alive and thriving if the opposition is also alive and thriving. But here there is a attempt to make sure that there is no opposition. You break away opposition, you intimidate leaders, you character assassination of leaders. This sort of thing, I think, is not healthy for a democracy. So we're fighting against what's happening in the country. The whole environment has become quite vicious. So they should talk about the huge price rise people are struggling with, the job losses, the economy is in doldrums. Those are not issues that they want to discuss. They want to, talk about divisive politics, about acrimony in society, and all the sorts of attempts made to, demoralize the opposition. But they will not succeed, because we are here to stay united, talk about what's good for the country, and this struggle will persevere.
Is the opposition united in this fight?
I think everybody's united. The entire opposition is united. And like I said, it's not just about Mrs. Gandhi or the Congress, it's about the entire country, our institutions, our democracy, our freedom of speaking, and our right to protest and our right to show disagreement. In a democracy, dharna, pradarshan, padyatra, petitions, that's what we do. Even that's not being allowed. That's not fair.
My final question, what is happening inside over there?
We've been beaten by the police, and we'll see what I'm doing.
Have you all been mistreated with?
Is different, but we've all put in a bus and brought here without information. We don't know how what the next steps are going to be.
Thank you very much for speaking with us. That was Mr. Sachin Pilot from the Congress, former Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan, here in the national capital. He, along many others, including Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Shashi Tharoor, including many others like Ajay Markin and Harish Rawat, several leaders over there of the Congress detained over there. But Mr. Sachin Pilot did come out to speak to us exclusively, to tell us that the Congress will keep its fight on, that the Congress believes that the voice of the poor, the voice of the common man must not and should not be suppressed, will not be muzzled. And they also believe that this is not just about Mrs. Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, or this is not just about the Congress. And he also continues to say that the opposition is united in its fight against the misuse of these probe agencies by the center. With Pooja Arya in Delhi, Shanakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.